Hello, welcome to Web of Stories. My name is Melinda and I'm here to do my weekly wrap up. And I had a little list somewhere of things I wanted to talk about and now I can't find it, which is the story of my life. So let's see if I remember it. First of all, in my last weekly wrap up, I promised you a vlog this week and you did not see it. And the reason why is because that vlog was terrible. I don't know why I'm having such trouble doing a decent vlog, but it was literally just me telling you I'm reading the same thing every single day. And I kept forgetting. And in one clip of me making curry. Yeah, so mid-month book bash is coming up in a couple weeks. We'll try that again. So sorry about that. I lied. You didn't get a vlog. Speaking of mid-month book bash, if you remember like a couple months ago, I said, you know, in the September one is going to be really interesting because I was doing this book sale, blah, blah, blah. That event actually where I was going to be doing that has actually been canceled because we didn't get enough vendors, which, yeah, fine. But that leads into the next thing I want to talk about. I am starting a Pango store, and if I remember, I will put the link in my comments down below. It's a fundraiser for our church, was this whole event. And so what I decided to do was just take the books, most of the books that I have, which right now are mostly my daughter's and mine, and put them on Pango and then donate the proceeds that I make to my church. So today, right now I have one book on there. If anyone wants like a Louise Penny book, that was my test one. That's what I have up there right now is a Louise Penny book, but there'll be more. Today I'm probably going to start with the books from my daughter. So it'll be a lot of like middle grade and YA fantasy will be what's starting today. I'll put it down, check it out if you're interested. As I said, all the proceeds I get from it are going to my church who had a major plumbing issue. And this is a little bit to help with that. We had like a huge hole open up in our men's bathroom. It was kind of weird. I'm blaming the city for it because they were doing road construction and I think the jolting did it, but you know, that's neither here nor there. We have money we have to make. Anyway, just FYI, you will start seeing Pango stuff from me. Yes, so this is my last summer weekly wrap up. We're coming up on Labor Day weekend, which of course is the traditional end of summer. It's also Labor Day's the last day of Big Book Summer. I'm still frantically trying to finish my last two big books because vacation threw a whole wrench in that. But yes, so that's coming up. But also my kids go back to school next week. My son, because he's a freshman, so I'll be starting high school. He's going back on Wednesday. And then my daughter, who'll be a junior, is going back on Thursday. Because the freshmen always get like that day first for an orientation. And oh my goodness, that's the wrong book. Hold on a sec. Back. I was not organized. Surprise, surprise. Yes, so they get that first day as kind of their orientation day, and then they go back. I can't believe I have two high schoolers. My daughter only has 2 years left, and she's going to college. My poor baby. Not my poor baby. She's going to have fun in college. Poor mommy. But anyway, t-shirt check. I feel this shirt today. And that's all I'm going to say about that. But anyway, last week, in the midst of trying to finish big books, I did actually finish 4 books, one of which is a big book. But let me go through them. So the first one I don't have with me because it was from my postal book group and I wanted to have the book to hold up to you, but I got a late start this morning and I had to go to the post office today anyway, so I just mailed it already. So I'll just stick a picture up. And that is You Shouldn't Have Come Here by Jeneva Rose. I've never read Jeneva Rose before and I will not read her again. This book was not for me. As I've said before, I've kind of accepted the fact that domestic thrillers are not my style. So this is definitely not a book I would have chosen on my own, but I'll read it if it's part of, because we never know what books we're going to get. And I actually did it on audio because I had to fit it in somehow. And I only mention that because the narration wasn't super. They weren't the best narrators. There were 2 narrators. I don't know if that had much of an impact. Given what this book was, I don't think it had much of an impact at all. But this was a 1-star book for me. The only reason why I didn't DNF it was because it was for this book group. It was really stupid. It's about this woman who each year like rents a B&B someplace, an Airbnb somewhere remote, and she goes there for a week, and so she rents one in in Wyoming. And apparently like the Airbnbs that I have rented in, which haven't been that many, have been like, you go there and there's no one else there. It's like you have the house or the apartment or whatever. This one, it was just a room in someone's house and the guy was still there. And of course it's a single guy. And of course things happen. And of course people are lying. It was just stupid. And there was also a lot of like gross stuff in it. So yeah, not for me at all. And I won't be reading Geneva Rose again. I also was a little irritated by the writing. There were a lot of, the characters kept using the same turns of phrase over and over again. It seemed there wasn't a lot of personality in the dialogue, those sorts of things. So yeah, that was a 1-star book. It's been a long time since I had a 1-star book, but there you go. The next book I have was much better. And this was actually a big book. This was the big book that I finished this week. And this was a buddy read I did with commentator Christina, and it took us a while because vacation, but it is North and South by Elizabeth Gaskell. I thought I had read Elizabeth Gaskell. I don't know if I did, what I had, because I haven't read any of her novels. This book, I read it, actually I read an e-copy of it, but I got the audio done by Juliet Stevenson to listen to while I read it, which was a really great way of doing it. I really enjoyed Elizabeth Gaskell more than I expected to do, so I'm definitely going to be reading more Elizabeth Gaskell. She's a lot less flowery than her contemporary. A contemporary to her would be Charlotte Bronte. She wrote Charlotte Bronte's biography after Charlotte Bronte passed. They were friends. Definitely a lot less flowery than her, much more straightforward, more humor in there. Her character seemed very realistic in a lot of ways, which I appreciated it. One thing I did notice about this book, and Christina noticed it too, is time seemed to have no meaning. Like, we could never really tell the passing of time. And we think that is because this book was serialized in Dickens' newspaper or whatever. So we think that's just a product of it being serialized and then being put into a book. Like, it wasn't supposed to be read straight through. You're supposed to read a chapter a week sort of thing. And my guess, I don't know, but my guess is like, if there was something in the book that really tied it to a time of year, that's probably when it would have been published in the newspaper or magazine or whatever. So there was that. The ending, I thought, was really abrupt. I will say that. The ending was really abrupt. I was like, I knew where it was going because I'm not from under a rock and I have read Victorian literature and they almost always end the same way. But I'm like, you don't have many pages left to get to that point. And then like, poof, we got to that point really darn quickly. But it's fine. Overall, really fun reading experience. This was 4 stars for me. I definitely want to read more Elizabeth Gaskell. Already next month, Maria Andre and I are going to do a buddy read of a novella of hers, Lois the Witch. I got the title of it. If you saw my haul and TBR, it's a shorty. So, yeah, I'm glad I read this, really enjoyed it. I have downloaded I guess it's Masterpiece Theater adaptation of it. I haven't seen it yet, but I plan to watch it. And I do. Also, I have on one of my challenges, I have read 2 books with the same title. So I read this and I have John Jake's North and South, which I know is very different because not only did I see the miniseries, which started my love for Patrick Swayze, but I read that book when I was way too young to be reading that book. So I'm going to read it again as an adult, and that'll be my other North and South. So I'll have 2 books by the same title. Okay. The third book I finished was one that I was reading before bed. I was actually reading it first thing in the morning. Like, when I say first thing in the morning, I mean starting after midnight and finishing by 1 a.m. I need to get back into the school year schedule, clearly. And it's one that I have had on my Kindle for over 10 years. And I have always wanted to read it. I mean, I always had a desire to read it. There's nothing stopping me. And what kind of did push me forward is because it's a memoir and the author has another memoir coming out in October that I'm very interested in. So I thought I need to read this one first. And this is one I'm sure a lot of you have read, and it's I Am Malala by Malala Yousafzai. Again, unless you've lived under a rock, you know who Malala is. She is a Pakistani girl who, she and her father were both really vocal about supporting education for girls in Pakistan. And when she was 15, I think, she was on a bus to school and the Taliban came on and shot her in the head. She did not die, although pretty touch and go. She did survive and she continued her work. The bulk of the story is like leading up to that. There's a bit afterwards, like her recovery basically from the time she got home until like starting her new life in Birmingham, England, which is where she went. But it's really like leading up to that point. And I enjoyed it. I have one complaint that's not actually about the book. It's about my version of the book, which was, as I said, on my Kindle for over 10 years. And it was the worst formatted Kindle book I've ever read. It was just like one big, huge, long document. And I'm like, this wasn't an ARC. This is something I got from Amazon and it's crap. So that was annoying. That was annoying. I have since, and I was hoping it would come today, but it hasn't yet. I ordered a physical copy of it off Pango because I did really like it. And I think it's a book my daughter might want to read. So, and I wanted it for my library, but there's that. It also did feel a little YA-ish, which is completely okay because she was like a YA when she wrote this book. She was like 16 years old. So of course it's going to feel like a YA book because she's a YA. If you are someone who can't get over that hump, just know that going into this. I was fine with it. I am someone who does have trouble with YA books from time to time, but I didn't hear because it was a memoir. And I also think that sort of YA feel really added an authenticity to it. There were some times where she was, as I say, the hero of your own story. But again, she's also 16 years old. All 16-year-olds think they're the hero of their own story. So that would be weird if she didn't have it. So my biggest pet peeve about memoirs didn't even really apply here. She also was pretty willing to admit her flaws. Like she fights all the time with her brother and she, she's vain and she would fight with her friends and, these sorts of things that I was, kind of proud of her as someone that age to kind of come out and say that, yeah, I'm sometimes a difficult person. So I enjoyed it. I am definitely looking forward to her new memoir. Whose name? I can't remember. Hold on a sec. I have it up here because I have pre-ordered the audiobook of it. I did have the physical book in my bookshop cart, and then I decided to go audio for this, and then it's Finding My Way, and it's going to be released on October 21st. I decided for this particular one, I would just go ahead and get the audiobook and do it that way, and then after the fact, get a print book when I could get a good copy at price on one on Pango, and that would be for my shelves. So, yeah. That was I Am Malala. Good. It was a strong, I really toyed between 4 and 5 stars. If I were giving half stars, this would be a 4.5. I did end up giving a 4-star because I'm like, yes, this was really good, but I think her next one's going to be even better because she's an adult now and she has more, she's going to talk about her life as an adult and adjusting. And that just would be probably, I think it'll just be a better book. And this one was good. I'm not saying it's not good. I'm saying it's good. I gave it 4 stars instead of 5. And then the final book I finished, which I finished last night, is a little bit of a tough one in some ways. And I did this as audio, which is important. And this is Murder at Gull's Nest by Jess Kidd. I have never read Jess Kidd before, and I do know from several people who have read Jess Kidd that this is very atypical for her books. So I did go into this in my mind, like, no matter what I think of this, it's not going to have any bearing on whether I read anything else by Jess Kidd, which I do plan to do. I just haven't yet. Because I've heard great things about her books. I've also heard, for the same reason, from a lot of people that this isn't as good as her other books. And sometimes that's just a case of it being different, and sometimes it's just not as good. So I did listen to this because I have heard great things about the audio. It's narrated by Siobhan McSweeney, who I have not watched Dairy Girls, but I have used memes from them many a times, and I do need to watch Dairy Girls. And Bookish Best Friend loved it, and it was read by Kendra Winchester. And so I was like, okay, we'll do it. So here's the deal. Like, this is why I'm a little, this is my conundrum with this book. I enjoyed the experience of listening to the audiobook. I love the accent. I think it was well narrated. It was an entertaining narration, all of that. But as for a mystery, it was very hard for me to do on audio because I was having trouble following the threads that I usually follow in mysteries. I don't think I would have that problem if I were reading the book. So I think if I continue with the series, which I may very well continue with the series, I need to make a decision. Am I going to continue with the series as an audio experience and just accept it as that? Or am I going to read it with my eyes from now on and read it as a mystery series? Because those are two very different things with this. And I think it's one, for me at least, it's one or the other. Now, as for the mystery, as I said, I had trouble following some of the threads because it was audio. I did also think it was a pretty predictable ending. I saw way off the solution. So there you go. Maybe that is a point towards continuing it as an audio experience. I don't know. As I said, I'm not, I mean, this is obviously a Jess Kidd book, but I'm not going to pick up another Jess Kidd book and expect it to be like this, because I think they're like in two different pots. It's kind of like there are some authors, Taylor Jenkins Reid and Lisa Jewell are two of these, who for a long time wrote one kind of book and then switched to another kind of book. They both were writing like rom-coms and romance, adult contemporary romance, and then they switched to these thrillers. So I see them almost as, each of them as two different authors. There was this Lisa Jewell or Taylor Jenkins Reid, and there was this Taylor Jenkins Reid or Lisa Jewell. And I kind of see that here, even though I haven't read anything else by Jess Kidd. I'm just going by what people have said, that there's mystery Jess Kidd and there's not mystery Jess Kidd, and I really need to think of those as two different authors. So I ended up giving this 3 stars because I just didn't really quite know. I will say, as far as the mystery went, it could have been stronger because there was really no suspense because I knew really early on who did it. It was pretty clear who did it. But again, I enjoyed listening to the audio and the performance. So I don't know. I mean, definitely if they keep the same narrator, that's going to make it a conundrum. If for some reason they switch narrators, it's not going to be an issue. I'll just switch to the book because I think Siobhan McSweeney really made the audio worthwhile. So anyway, those are the 4 books that I finished this week. And so it is, you will be seeing this on August 30th. It's August 29th as I film this. What I will probably do when this is how the ends of months fall sort of thing. Next week's weekly wrap up will be from September 1st on, because I really want to finish those 2 big books in August. And anything that I finish in August, well, which probably will only be those 2 big books, I will kind of wrap up in my monthly wrap up. So anyway, thank you very much for dropping by. Enjoy the end of Big Book Summer. I'm toying whether I should put this, I love this Tumblr thing. If I should put it away until next summer, if I should just like suck it up and keep using it. I don't know. Please do, if you're interested, check out my Pango store. I will try to remember to put the link down below. And if you made it this far and you want to play the emoji game, why don't you go and you leave me, oh my gosh, I should always think of these things ahead of time. Let's put a bird because of Murder at Gull's Nest. If you want to do that, you don't have to. It's just kind of fun. I like seeing what emojis people come up with. But yeah, thank you very much for your time. Like, subscribe, join my Discord. I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.